If I could have the first slide up, please. A few weeks ago, this section is about where Duncan Ban lived and worked, and obviously lived in Dunleary for quite some time, and moved after the 1745 rebellion into employment with Earl of Godalming. And his first post is in Glenlochy, and that's the Glen, I'm sure most of the majority of you know where that is, Ascalon, Glenlochy Hotel in the corner across the river, and that's a wonderful, wonderful glen. And I was walking up there, say, a few weeks ago, and I was really struck by how life is altered, because we moved, when we drove, myself and David Brown drove to this place to get to, we couldn't get to it, to walk a good bit to get to it. We went up across the other Glenlochy into Tynalt, into Tyndrum, from Tyndrum down to the crossroads, follow the Cullen Road, back through there, up the glen again, doing a great big circle. And it suddenly occurred to me, I was looking at Corrichirk, it's just beyond where this long distance view of the cottages, how close everything actually is if you walk. And of course that was the method. And so when we look at Duncan's where he lived, we're not looking at huge areas. It's all centred around the Forest of Mamlorn, which is where this is, or Glenlochy, or Glenlochy. So this is a long distance view of the site of the cottage. We can have a second one like this. And this is the, I'm pretty certain this is not the cottage, but I'm pretty certain it's on the site of where he lived. And that's his first employment really that we know about for Godalming. And from here, you see the next slide please, looking up across the Bendoran, if we go round, seeing there is the Glen Och, between Bendoran and that other mountain. Round there, if you straight up and across, you'll be arriving in Badur. So he moved from Badur, this next slide please, to, this is obviously not what he was living in, but it was in Anshean, in Glenlochy. And from there, he had a perfect view of Bendoran. He'd walk through the Check, and he had a first-class personal connection to this crowd and all these places. What's ironic about this particular photograph is it's very close to the site of his cottage, but it's a sheep pen. And sheep he regarded as devils, destructive of Highland society. Now, very close to this, Og Glen is an important place actually. It's not quite, it's quite an important place. The Og House at the bottom is a very important part of the management of Mamlorn and Glenorchy. We know that Duncan came back, and the previous slide that you saw, up Glenorchy. We know also he returned there and was hugely influenced by what had happened to the countryside in his absence. And was actually, we know also he was reduced to tears in the competition. He had to leave before he could get himself composed to think about what he'd actually seen. The next slide, please. Some historical debate about where he moved next. We've got evidence of 2 children being born either in Dunleary or in Clashgower, which is by the River Sheera, in Glenkinglas. And we don't have any evidence of, we know he was in Clashgower, we know he was also in Dunleary, but we also think he was in Dalness. And this is the mystery of Duncan's life at this point. The Glenorchy record of baptisms actually shows births of 2 boys. We were talking earlier on, the 11 children. 2 of these children are both called Donald. I don't think it's because he's running out of names, but because you would know your child by, the first one might be Donald from Dunleary, the second is Donald of Clashgower. We all know from here in the Western Isles, you arrive, you look for Donald MacLeod and Harris. You've got quite a choice until we become more specific. So if we go to the next slide, this is Glenettive, a very striking glen which achieved fame in recent years thanks to James Bond. However, we have evidence of a cottage there that he stayed in. And he's working at this point for the Duke of Argyll. It has a contradiction with the Conchgirl, but we'll have to leave that hanging in the air. Now, the map at the end here, which you can maybe try and show the 4 circles on it. I know you cannot see anything in this map. You maybe can see the centre of it, that line running up the centre. That's the A82. And you can see far left is Clashgower, next to him is John Weird. Across the 82 into Glenorchy and Sheehan. Further down through Corrichet is Badur. I'm not showing Dalness on that in Glenettive because I'm just exercising a bit of my own personal judgment, probably wrong. I don't think he was there. So these are the 4 areas in which he was formed. After he left here, he wrote most of his poetry. And these are the areas and places which he loved. And this is what formed him as a poet and a bard. Final note here, the cheerful aspect of this is, by the mid-1760s, sheep were replacing deer, goats, black cattle and the native sheep. Deforestation was base. His job as forester was changing, protecting and managing the wilderness to become a sort of sheriff. And so it wasn't his liking, and that was part of the reason why he took the opportunity of going to Edinburgh. We're into new music actually now. Eddie, whatever he is, has composed the tune specifically in praise of Duncan Ban MacIntyre. He's called it Duncan Ban's Meditation.
then. Sir, it was a hell of a battle. I had to leave it behind.
What?
And between you and me, it was useless.
What? What? That was a treasured weapon of our clan, the Clan Fletcher. You get right back there and find it.
I'm done. I represented you at the battle, and I'm back to claim my money.
You'll get no money from me, you fair-haired Duncan of the songs. You go make a song out of that.
Aye, I'll do that, and I'll see you in court.
Wachagain macha al.
Once, when in the Scottish Lowlands, we, the whole Whig army, rested, on us chanced to come the rebels, a company that we detested. When they forced us to retreat and followed with intent to murder, if we had not used our feet, we never had with guns burnt powder.
'Twas to meet the prince advancing. We were in a cheerful spirit, for we thought we'd get the advantage and had but to go seek for it. But when they struck one another, high we should have leapt returning, and we sprang into the river, to our necks the deep pools churning.
When our men went in their war gear to turn back the rebel gentry, little we thought till we yielded we'd be hounded round the country as a dog might rush at sheepstock while they're scurrying on the glenside. It was so they got a scattering, those that were